Hello, it's that time again. Get up, get off the couch, and tackle your own to-do list. Stay tuned. Hello, welcome to the Just Ask Bob show on Cable 14. I am your host, Bob Assadourian. Once again, I want to thank the viewers for your emails, which is the premise of every single show. Hello, Bob. Fiberglass mesh drywall tape costs a lot more than paper tape. I've been told not to use it because of its thickness. People are telling me it may actually show through the final coat of paint. Bob, is this true? Andy from Hamilton, Ontario. Well, Andy, yes and no. It may be true if you're sanding too much or if you're not applying it correctly. Let's take a moment. We worked this out on the show today. Some time ago, you would have caught the episode prior to this one where we actually installed, this is a basement laundry room. We went to the great effort of installing this drywall, of getting this ready for the show. Now today, in logical order, we're going to be what's known as mudding. We're going to be drywall compound or mudding these walls and putting mesh tape over them. Let me show you firstly what we need. This is an array of tools and products that I recommend, some that I don't recommend. Now, when you install drywall, nobody's perfect. There are homes that are not square, level, or true, or sometimes the tradespeople are just throwing the sheets up, so to speak. So this is my personal preference. I want every single sheet of drywall mudded together. No air gaps. This is critical. If I can just take a moment to point you to a corner here. If you want to focus in. This corner, there's no issues with it. But dozens, if not hundreds of homes in Hamilton, the people will call me in, and the corner itself, it's pushing in. It's like a crack, but it's like it's falling through. When I cut it and rip it open, sometimes there's a ½ inch or an inch and a half of air. Nothing but air inside. So the paper or the steel or lack of whatever they're using for the corner, the mud eventually or the paper just pushes in. So for that reason, I want strength, making all the drywall touching itself. Now, let's start with what you're not going to use. Very important. Bob doesn't only teach you what to use, but what to avoid. This is typically known as all-purpose mud. So this is just mud that's ready in a pail. Now, what are the pros of this? It's cheap, and it's easy to apply. You don't even have to stir it. But it's junk. Don't use this. What I want you to use is Durabond 90. Durabond 90 is a chemical reaction. Durabond 90 is a setting compound. To give you an analogy, when you apply Durabond 90, which is almost plaster-based, for any of you that have the old Hamilton homes that are actual plaster walls, you know how strong that is. In my first old Hamilton home, my kids were little. They were 2 and 3 years old. They were bouncing off the walls, throwing things on the walls, jumping off to the onto the couch and hitting the wall. The walls were solid. My second home was a so-called modern construction with drywall. My kid, for whatever reason, jumped on the couch, banged his head on the wall, and the weakest part of the wall. He hit his head right between the 16-inch on center studs, and he just left a crater in it. So there's no strength. One way to think of this product is when you add Durabond 90 and then you add fiberglass mesh tape to it, you've created a similarity like adding rebar to concrete. It's incredibly strong, and you do want a strong application. So we're going to teach you after the break how to mix this. Again, the one downside of this, or the two downsides, there is a price factor to it, and there is also the fact that you have to mix it. But another way, final way, an analogy here to look at this. You're the homeowner. When you cut the crooked and overcharging contractor out of the equation, you've saved a lot of money. Most of these jobs we show you here can be anywhere from 60 to 80% in labor and 20 to 40% actual materials. So again, when you're cutting the crooked and overcharging contractor out of the equation, what are you saving? You're saving 60 to 80% of the cost of the job, reinvest that into yourself, buy the highest quality products and materials that you can, do the work yourself. You've now got bragging rights. You can tell everybody, I did it and I did it myself. So, mesh tape with Durabond 90 on all joints. Doesn't matter if it's a taper-to-taper drywall joint or a butt joint. Now, this is what I like to call the structural component of tying the drywall together. Then what we do, and again, technically speaking, you can use pre-mixed mud for this, but what I prefer is the ultralight. This product is absolutely phenomenal because it's easy to sand. I've used, doing this as a tradesman, as a contractor, I've used about every brand of drywall pre-made mud, and you do need the pre-made mud in the end. This sands very easily. So again, this is for the structure to lock it together. This is not sandable. You're going to have to get your scraper and you're going to have to scrape this. So we'll show you after the break. But the key with the Durabond 90 is you put it in flush to a slight innie. Do not by any means over add this because you can't sand it. Now the ultralight is what's going to taper or feather the joints together. In this particular case, let me count the pieces. One little patch at the top. That used to be for a shut-off valve for a hose bib, which was just the stupidest thing I've ever seen. That doesn't belong there. So 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left of the electrical outlet, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, guess what? You mud these correctly, it's one sheet of drywall. You should never, ever be able to count the seams. Now again, a pro such as myself may accomplish it in 2 to 3 coats, sanding in between. For a homeowner, you might need 5, 6, 7, 8 coats. I mean, it depends if it's your first time, your second time, or your third. But again, you do it and you do it right, you got bragging rights. Some more tools that you're going to need. A variety of knives. Now, I like this for just spinning up the compound because it's nice and easy to use. Ideally, each coat you have to build up. This is a 4-inch. So you start with a 4. Move your way up to a 6. Move your way up to a 12. Again, it's an optical illusion. You feather the compound out and you sand in between your primer and your paint. Stainless steel pan for small amounts. You can pour the Durabond 90 in the stainless steel pan, spin it up, apply it. We're going to be using a high-speed power drill. We're going to be using the mixing blade and a couple of pails. Up next, we're mixing Durabond 90. We're going to start coating the wall.
Your phone has the power to save a life. Emergency alerts can now be sent to compatible cell phones. Check your phone's compatibility at alertready.ca.
All right, Frank, maybe add a little more just so we're safe. Now, to the viewers at home, I want to explain to you this wall. Now, I don't know if you followed the past show, you'd understand my little disclaimer. I didn't frame this. This is an old home. This is not reality television. This is real television, working for a real Hamilton homeowner, and we're on a real stringent budget. So we're doing everything properly, but we're trying to do it within budget. So that's the reason why we didn't tear this whole wall out. The framing is deflected. There are some issues with the wall. Now, nothing that can't be fixed with mud. Ideally, for any construction project, you want a nice, true, straight wall. We can fix this with the mudding. Now, there are gaps that are a little larger than I would have appreciated. We did install the drywall patches. However, one of my co-op students was a little light and loose with the tape measure, but nothing that can't be fixed. Durabond 90 with mesh tape, I'll turn that into steel. If you were to put regular mud in here pre-mixed, you wouldn't have any strength at all. So again, it looks very pitch patchy, but it will be solid, flat and true by the time we're finished mudding it. See, with the Durabond 90 for the viewers, you don't want it milky like it is now. Frank's gonna have to add a little bit more compound in there. Ideally, you want it toothpaste consistency. Let's try that, just a little bit at a time. Toothpaste consistency. Frank's always been my champ on the mixer. Now he's kicking it up a notch for the speed. Look at that go. Very nice. And I always like to say you can do a little test to see if it stays erect. When it holds its shape, that's fine. Toothpaste consistency. Obviously, you don't want it watery or it's going to end up falling through the joint. We're going to load up our pans now. There you go. Now, for those at home, you must understand speed is of the essence. This is setting compound. Durabond 90, which signifies an hour and a half. You have an hour and a half before this starts to freeze. By freeze, I mean turn the concrete practically. The other stuff, the creamy, whippy ultralight, takes 24 hours to dry. Very nice product to apply. However, it must be applied to a complete innie. I always like to keep the knife clean, wipe anything off the edges, keep your tools and your work surface clean. All right, Frank, I think we're just about ready. We're going to start mudding.
I think we're good to go. Yep.
Terrific. Before applying the mud, it's important to carve and to dimple any screw misses. Let me show you what I mean here. Now, I'm really fussy about this. Here's the electrical outlet cut out. These little strands, this little paper, well, especially that, they can cause problems. So you want to carve the edge. You want to cut anything even. It's about cleaning up the edges so you can get a nice pack with your Durabond. Now, as we discussed on a past show, the power is off. That's important for safety. Now, I really want, for those of you at home, to try to really focus in here. I don't know if you can see it at home, but this is called a pop. The drywall's flat here. Right here it starts to pop. During the course of installing the sheet, this edge popped. You cannot leave it like that. It will cause problems later. You need to cut it out. This will be repaired with Durabond 90. Sometimes it happens. Another spot where it's happened is the corner down here. Now again, if you really focus in here, when we installed this sheet, the corner popped. You can never leave that like that, and you can't mud it like that. You have to cut out the break. See? Right here was the original break. Unfortunately, drywall will do that. See, back in the day, the strong, well-built Hamilton homes had plaster. Plaster, in effect, is like concrete. Modern drywall, you've got a gypsum core, which is really wannabe concrete, and then you've got paper on both sides. That's the essence of your drywall. Hence, it can crack easily. Now, we talked about it before. Durabond 90 pre-fill, fiberglass mesh on top. I'm telling you, the stuff is like concrete with rebar. But you want to pack it. It's all about the penetration. You want to make absolutely certain to pack it. You want to keep your tool clean constantly. And you want to make sure to take off your excess. Same thing here, we had a slight break. You want to fill it in. So Durabond 90, again, it's not sandable. You want to stay nice and even. Now at the same time, you might as well pack in your screw heads. That's the right way to pack it in. That's the wrong way. If you leave that like that, 90 minutes, that's going to practically harden the concrete. The only way you're going to get it off is to scrape it. You never want it like that. Every single screw head, 3 coats. It's an absolute must. 3 coats on minimum every joint. Then when it receives primer and paint, it's invisible. Now, Frank already pushed this in, but I'll show you in a moment. This was a miss. So we fill it in. Now, there's a reason these putty knives have metal on the end. Where is it? Right here. Okay, if you focus in here, we've got our row of screws. 1, 2, 3 misses. Now let's see what happens if I mud that. Look what it's creating. That will show through any paint job. So you can't do that. You take the back end, you create an innie. When I train my employees, it's all about these terms. Innies, outies. You want every coat an innie, you sand it smooth, and you feather it out. Now, we just made an innie out of that. Look at that. We've got one more here, just to show you again. You leave it as an outie. It always sticks out. I can't stand that when you see a newly remodeled room or an old room and it's been painted and you see these little things sticking out. So again, back end of the knife, push it in. Honestly, it looks to me like Frank caught every single other one. He left me 1 or 2 to show the viewers. Great job, Frank. See, zero thickness. All right, now I'm just showing off. I'm going too quickly, but for those of you at home, again, it's not about the speed. Now, let's talk about cutouts. When the laundry tub goes here, or the kitchen vanity, the bathroom vanity, most tradespeople, most contractors leave these holes like this. I can't stand that. It frustrates me. I realize the cabinet, the vanity will be here. I like to pack these in for 2 reasons. One is it's solid, it becomes structurally sound. Secondly, you're not going to get mice, ants, bugs, because remember, this is an outside wall. So I like any and all cutouts to be packed in tightly. Makes the pipe very rigid. And it makes for a clean job. However, you don't want to leave any excess. Now again, we did talk about the bad framing. There's a reason we have a space here. There's issues with the framing. Once the Durabond 90's packed in, see, it forces its way in and it spreads. It creates a key. It creates a lock. And then when the mesh tape goes on, it's strong. So this will help fix what you'd call maybe, difficult drywall applications, whether it's issues with the drywall or issues with the framing in behind. But you do want to pack it in. It's all about the penetration. You want to pack it in as tight as possible. Within an hour and a half, this won't move at all. Well, Frank, we're lucky we're in a basement today. It's a scorcher outside.
It's nice and cool down here.
Oh, it is. It is. We're lucky. We have to work in all types of weather. Now again, because of the framing, you can see this is about a 1/4 inch out from this. So not only do I apply the Durabond 90, but I try to create a flat area that I can apply the mesh tape to. That's very important because the mesh tape can't go in, out, and up. So you need to create flatness. Now, this we installed earlier. It's had a chance to set. I need to get some mesh. In just a moment, I'm going to grab some mesh tape to install on there. Here we go. We've got the mesh. And again, believe me when I say Durabond 90 with mesh, it's like adding steel to concrete. So this is self-stick, or at least it's supposed to be. Okay. Now, I've talked a lot about how this is 90 minutes that it sets. However, you know, humidity, temperature can affect it. If it's very humid in the area you're applying it, it may even take 2 hours or longer to set. You want to center it as best as you can. Now, it doesn't matter, honestly, what type of joint you're putting this on. You always need it. Now, that's the right amount. First I pull it horizontal, then I pull it vertical to stop. That's correct. That would not be correct. You do not want too much. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to keep at it through the break. Up next, Bob's Bewares and top picks, and we're going to show you what goes over the Durabond 90. Up next.
The Hamilton Bulldogs are stepping up and speaking out on ending violence against women. As a father, a coach, and former NHL player, I ask you to be more than a bystander.
It's that time again. Bob's Bewares and Bob's top picks. Making perfect sense for today's show. 100% of Bob's Beware. Paper drywall joint tape. Absolute junk. As the name implies, no knife needed. Come on, how good is that? You can't do that with mesh tape. Now again, this is used throughout Ontario. It is included as part of the minimum Ontario Building Code. You're going to be using this, hopefully you're not going to be using this on your inside and outside joints, all the joints for the drywall sheets. That's a Bob's Beware, nothing but junk. Now we have fiberglass mesh tape, which let's try. You can't rip. This will not rip. You need a knife. So that should tell you something. Now, what guys complain about with this is you'll hear a lot of rumors and stories that this requires more sanding, or there's millage, there's thickness. Not at all. It's extremely thin. I would embed this in Durabond 90, not any type of premix compound. Embed it in Durabond 90, and like I always say, it's like adding steel rebar to concrete. This will create very strong, long-lasting joints. Now, back to the show. Now the bathroom's obviously not quite done. We still need a ceramic tile floor. We still need a beautiful drop ceiling, possibly some upper cabinets, and then the appliances will arrive. Clothes dryer, washing machine, laundry tub. But what I'm excited about and very grateful to the great people at Cable 14 is they made time for us to come back for their drywall reveal. On past episodes, we installed drywall here, nearly a dozen pieces. I mean, I really want the viewers to focus in here. A lot of you might have thought, Bob, why is the wall all busted up and patched together here and there? Why not just rip the whole sucker out and start fresh? Several reasons. Priority one was a budget. Yes, we had a budget on this job. It does cost more money, labor and materials to gut the whole wall, but potentially be reframed. So to stick within the homeowner's budget, we pieced in, we patched, we only had to cut out the minimal in order to do the plumbing, relocate the venting for the clothes dryer. But I'm very proud of this. During the past show, after we drywalled and we mudded, this wall looked like a butchered mess. Look at it now. Absolutely seamless. Absolutely seamless. And this is only primer. This hasn't even been painted yet. To the viewers at home, remember this guy? Remember how Bob was upset? If I would have built this wall originally, this would have been 2x6 construction. The sewer vent pipe coming up from the kitchen above, draining through the sewer down below the concrete, that was here. Just a sore thumb, gone. We built a beautiful box, surprised the lady of the home, impressed her with that. Follow us. We do have what we proudly refer to as the largest database on the net. www.justaskbob.com. Again, that's www.justaskbob.com. Bob's Old School, or just pick up the phone, 289-649-0196. Call us or email us your questions. Thank you. Till the next time.
Me?
Yeah.
Hello, Hamilton. Welcome to Just Ask Andy.
No, just say hello, Hamilton, neatly. But don't say it with a weird voice. Say it nicely.
Hello, Hamilton.